Hello and welcome to Sports by Compian. My name, of course, is Stephen Compian, joined here by my co-host Dan Gill, here in the house, back from a weekend of debauchery and sports here in Rockford, Illinois, no less. How are you, Dan?
Tired, honestly. Quick 3 days, and I don't know why I decided to go to work yesterday. My flight landed at 9 in the morning, and then I just went to work. Here we are.
Here we are.
Great weekend of sports.
Great weekend of sports. We're also joined, of course, by friend of the show, resident Patriots fan expert, Mr. Cooper O'Connell in the house. Cooper, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm speaking to a bigger audience than I'm used to these days, huh?
Oh, yeah.
For the 4 viewers that were here before my first appearance, if you guys are still around, look at us now.
That's right. Cooper started from the bottom with us, and now we're getting there. We do want to shout out all of our new subscribers. Thank you for coming and checking us out. We will try to produce some great sports content for you guys. Today we will be recapping a fantastic weekend of NFL football. I personally loved it. Great times all around. And we'll dive right into it. You guys ready for that kind of exciting stuff?
Let's do it.
Well, shoot. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. All right, here we go. So Chargers, Raiders. Man, with how crazy this weekend was, this game kind of squeaked out of the spotlight, I guess, because it's kind of two teams that no one really thinks are going to do anything. But the Raiders fucking spanked the Chargers, man. What a disaster. In the year of backup quarterbacks killing it, your boy Stick over there or whatever definitely didn't have a night.
No, because we were kind of tracking this one during Pick'em last week, and it went downhill so fast. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No.
And, it's kind of funny that you're right. Like, for as crazy as the Saturday and Sunday games went, if they weren't as, equally crazy, people would have been talking about this one a lot more than they did.
Yeah, and shout out former Patriots cornerback who had, what was his name, Cooper? You should know. What was it, Jones?
Oh, he's one of 4 former Patriots to score that game, actually. Jack Jones.
Jack Jones, dude, that was probably the best play I've seen, best pick six I've seen, man. Like, holy cow, that was cool.
Yeah.
Like, if it would have been a more significant game or a more significant moment, this might go down as an all-time NFL highlight. Like, holy shit, dude, that was crazy.
He's a talented ball hawk, but he had a couple situations with the Patriots that ended up getting him released. He wasn't getting released by us because he was bad. It was because he made some John Morant-esque decisions in the offseason and then had some beef with Belichick. Sad to see a guy like him go because he's a great player. And then on top of that, Brandon Bolden scored a touchdown. Jacoby Myers had a great game. I feel like somebody else who used to be on the Patriots scored too. I think they have Jakob Johnson. I don't think he did anything, but the Raiders is like the Patriots West at this point. McDaniels is scraps, I like watching this game though. I like watching blowouts that get super, super extreme.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that it made me think of is the question of, is running up the score actually not a bad thing? Because one thing I hate about baseball is all the unwritten rules. And a big unwritten rule in the NFL is not running up the score, but I feel like it's good for the team morale, and it's good for the fans too. Because I wanted to see them break the Dolphins' 70-point from earlier this season.
And the thing is, the Chargers can't even really claim that this is on the Raiders for running up the score because they're all defensive turnovers and stuff. And it's like, dude, if you throw the ball to the defense, they're not going to be like, all right, I'm going to run out of bounds because it's just we're kicking the shit out of you. Nah, bro, that guy's taking his first touchdown to the house for sure, and no one can blame him. It's defense. Stop.
I don't know. I kind of share that concept, especially there are certain leagues we talked about it in the Rugby World Cup where point difference is a metric for a tiebreaker. So it's when it can affect you later in the year that you just stop scoring points, which I believe in the NFL it is. I know in the 90s it was because there was a game that Green Bay was in with Carolina that they basically, it came down to point differential. And they were both just balling out and scoring nonstop against whoever they were playing. So, obviously neither one of these teams are in that situation, but it's the premise of it that kind of bothers me. Also, I saw that it was the first time since 2014 when Green Bay did it to the Bears that a team scored 42 points or more before halftime.
Oh, man.
that adds
Sorry,
up.
guys. A lot of sneezing there, but yeah, this first 3 drives is a crazy sequence of events here. So punt, touchdown by the Raiders, fumble, touchdown. You're down 21-0 real quick. It got out of control quick for Brandon Staley's group, and then they probably quit on him, and it ended up costing the man his job. That time, well,
I mean,
not for
like,
Chargers fans. I think they wanted this.
I mean, like I said, after how last year went down and ended for them, I don't know how he's kept his job. Like blowing that game against Jacksonville, he should have been gone.
Probably. Either way, he is gone now. But moving on.
And they took everybody else out too. Like a lot of coaches, I think the GM who was there for 11 years got fired too. So like I think they said their outside linebacker coach is the new interim head coach.
All right.
So,
Cleaning house.
Time to prove it, bud. Good luck.
Time to make a name, man.
Well, what's it called? Eli Manning was laughing about this last night. He's like, "Hey, if you want to win a game, just fire all your coaching staff, and then the interim head coach, the boys will rally for him apparently and win." So yeah, that's what I recommend.
I mean, that's been a topic we've been on the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. It's a pretty funny dude. Eli kind of lets it fly on that sports pod. I kind of love it.
He's got to be a big Antonio Pierce fan too, since they were teammates.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
And he's definitely rallying the Raiders. I mean, they wanted to blow the roof off of the Chargers for him. He's playing for his job too.
Sure is. Yeah. Sure is. Well, moving on to another guy, absolutely balling out and probably getting himself a future starting role, Jake Browning. Huge comeback against the Vikings. It was starting to look like, oh, maybe he is mortal, or maybe he is a backup for a reason. No, comes back strong. Has that snippet of him saying, "You never should have cut me." Dude, this guy's got swagger. I'm about it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes back to what I said last week. There's all the pieces that Joe Burrow was going to use. As long as they kept it simple and allowed him to, operate in that offense. And he's been in it for 3 years. So he's had plenty of time in practice, in preseason games, and probably a couple blowouts that he's come in and worked with him. So, it's a little bit of a veteran guy that they have back there for their system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, too, is that I feel like he's not totally connected with Jamar Chase the way that he could be. There's a lot more room for him and Chase to start getting a lot more trust with each other downfield. Like, obviously Burrow played with him in college, so it was a little bit different. But, I mean, Jake Browning cooked the Vikings and barely threw to Jamar Chase. I know that because I was in the fantasy playoffs starting Chase.
Yeah.
But, I mean, T. Higgins has been popping off, and he's not even their best receiver. So I feel like there's still signs to even improve for Browning.
That touchdown by T. Higgins, I saw that live. That was insane.
Yeah.
Well, by live, I mean I saw it on TV, but still, it was crazy. Like, that reach back was just peak athleticism. But what's going on with Jamar? Didn't he get hurt in this game?
He was banged up, I know. I'm not sure what his current status is, but he has a 0.0 in his projection for fantasy right now. So it's not looking good for him this week.
It's not looking good like he's going to play, huh? Huh.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was super serious when it happened, though. I haven't really heard much about it.
Is this the game they got the Steelers for?
Yeah,
the Saturday
Maybe
game.
This is the one where
less day of rest.
Maybe Frankie's bet can finally get back on track. This does seem like the type of game where Tomlin maybe can figure it out, but we'll cover that in the pickup coming up. Anyway, boys, the Vikings drop another close one. It does seem to be Vikings blood. What's his name over there? Nick Mullen had his moments, but also had moments of looking like a backup when he straight up was getting sacked and sort of just toss it to the D lineman tackling him. Like, what a day!
Yes,
that interception was like in the same game. Like
he basically put it in the defender's lap for him.
It was hilarious. Like, I get what he was trying to do, throw it into the ground, but man, that looked bad. Anyway, so yeah, moving on. Colts take care of business against the Steelers. The Steelers came out quick in this one, and then just absolutely fell apart.
Yeah, managed to catch some of this during our bar crawl, but Minshew is a good backup for them. He's been doing well with them so far.
Has he? He was terrible last game, and I don't think he was
All
very
things
good at this one either.
all things considered, he's been steady for them. They're
2
still a
interceptions,
playoff.
and he had like a bunch of interceptions last week. Is that steady, Daniel?
No, he didn't. That's the Steelers.
I
He
thought you
threw
said Mitchell Trubisky. I thought you.
No, I said
I'm sorry. You're
no
Minshew. You're saying
Minshew.
Minshew. No, Minshew's been balling out. I'm so sorry. I misunderstood.
Yeah, no. I'm saying Minshew's been, despite getting down 13-0 early, like he was able to get them back into it and kind of keep to their plan.
Yeah.
I am an avid anti-Mitch Trubisky fan, and I only really like him for one quote. We're not doing that one here.
Okay.
I'll tell you that what everyone in Philly's talking about right now is how Steichen's getting more out of Minshew than they're getting out of Jalen Hurts right now, the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's crazy what Minshew's producing right now.
Yeah, and then, so they're keeping their playoffs alive. I think Frankie's in trouble. I think Frankie's in big trouble.
Big trouble.
I don't see them beating Cincy next week, honestly, and then they're going to Seattle, to Baltimore. Like it's not a good outcome for him.
It's really looking bad.
Now, I think an interesting thing that came out of this game that's been a lot of people have been talking about is KZ's suspension for the remainder of the season for that hit. I mean, the part I love about this is that, like, Brady and other quarterbacks are like, that's on Minshew, for leading his receiver into a thing like that. And it's not the first time we've heard it, but it's true. Like,
that's definitely a hospital pass.
Yeah, and like we've heard numerous defenders say it. I believe Mitchell on Steelers said it. So he's like, it's getting to the point that, like, I'm going to injure myself trying to avoid not laying a big hit on an offensive guy that's going to get me flagged, fined, or suspended. It's like Minshew's costing me $50,000 because he ran his guy right into a hit, and I'm like,
yeah,
there is some validity in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my question is, because it's all about the head injuries for the most part with this kind of thing, is why don't they use the same helmets that they use in training camp, the big goofy ones?
Yeah.
During the season, if they're actually safer.
I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, no, it is. 100% it is. They would have to figure out how to print on it, so you basically move the helmet logo out, because they're all white. So then you couldn't tell whose helmet was who.
Yeah.
So I get from a gameplay aspect, they wouldn't like that. But I mean, you're not wrong. Like, if they're that concerned about it, the only I guess devil's advocate is, I don't know if that would entice them to try to do it. Like, oh well, now we have these pads.
Yeah.
Then we're okay.
Yeah, I don't understand the full science behind it, but if they use it during training camp, there's got to be some theory to the madness.
I thought only really linemen and stuff used it. I didn't know if, like, the rest of the position players used it or not. But
let me look it up real quick.
I haven't been to training camp in a couple of years. But yeah, you're not wrong. Like, there's got to be some level of balance. Like, they were talking about if Pittman had stayed up on his feet instead of deciding to dive, that he's getting, the way that KZ came in, he's getting drilled right at the hips in the gut. But because he decided to lay out, like, once you come in for that tackle, you can't really adjust yourself if the receiver decides to do something else.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a touchy subject. The NFL does need to figure out what they're doing in these regards, because it can't always be the defender's fault. Moving on, boys. We got Denver, Detroit. Man, Detroit looks like a different team this week. They absolutely handled this game. Jared got 5 touchdown passes, five, Daniel, and they absolutely shut down the Denver running game. Yeah, I don't know what else we could really say about this one. Straight up beatdown.
Yeah, no. We were kind of waiting to see if Denver was going to get back onto the track Detroit, because they've had a rough last couple of weeks.
Sure have.
And then we were kind of curious how much of a run Denver was going to be on. But, all things considered, the way that both teams started the season, we all thought this was a horrible game for a Saturday that actually turned out heading into it to be a better one. I think, Detroit's trying to hold on to that division lead with Minnesota and Green Bay not being able to get things going. They're in a safe position, but, I don't want to say it's good to see that the Lions are figured it out, but, here we are. We did talk about this on Sunday night that the Lions sound people during the Broncos warm-ups when Russell Wilson came out played Future for 45 minutes straight and nothing else. And the second he left the field, they played something else. So interesting job there. But
love to see it.
Whatever little tactic you think you can get, I guess.
What do you think?
That works and it doesn't. You get the wrong guy on that. Like, there was a Red Sox playoff game. I think it was a World Series game where they had Josh Beckett's ex-girlfriend sing the national anthem, and Beckett went out there and just threw an absolute masterpiece. Like, he was just locked in the entire game. I was so proud of him.
That's awesome.
So I guess cool. Some guys have that dog in them and some guys don't. But Russell Wilson also might have just played that without that happening too, because that's can't really rely on him to play a few good games in a row.
I think this was a Detroit Lions. I think more so than Denver dropping this. I think this was Detroit having their backs against the wall and being like, "All right, we got to figure our shit out here." Dan Campbell was talking up like, "All right, we're gonna have to yell at the boys in practice. That's what it takes." Apparently, he yelled at them and they started listening. But what do you think, Cooper? Do you think this team is going to be dangerous down the stretch here? I mean, we're starting to see a lot of chinks in all the top teams in the NFC, besides, of course, the 49ers.
Yeah, I think the Lions are good, but I think this win didn't really tell us anything about them that we didn't already know. Their offense can run it up on any team in the NFL, in my opinion, but when it gets to playoff time, like, I don't see them playing 4 good games in a row or 3 good games in a row, whatever it takes for them to win the Super Bowl. I think their defense is still super suspect. I think holding Denver to 17 points doesn't really say that much about your defense. I think with the NFC, like, I worry more about Detroit losing their first playoff game than I do about them, going into San Francisco and winning, or going into Philly or Dallas and winning. Like, right now, I think they have the Seahawks projected as their first opponent, and the Seahawks are like the cockroaches of the NFL. Every time you think they're dead, they just keep coming back.
For real. We're going to get to them in a minute, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on here, boys. So that's Detroit. That's Denver. Russell Wilson out there doing Russell Wilson thing. Let's ride, boys. All right. So Falcons and Panthers. Oh my God, guys. This just completed my day when I found out the final result from this one as we were leaving Packers Stadium, which we'll get to in just a moment. But oh my gosh. Some days are just beautiful, Cooper, And I don't know what the heck happened down there in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we could have seen it for 45 cents. Okay, well, plus taxes and fees, probably like $5. But anyone could have seen this masterpiece of a game by the Carolina defense. Once again, didn't see this game, was busy watching a different one. But man, shout out to the Carolina defense, just making Arthur Smith look terrible, making Desmond Ridder look terrible. I don't know what the Falcons are doing, but I'm here for it. I support it, and great win for Carolina. Win number 2, baby. Let's go.
The real winners are the Bijan Robinson Dynasty fantasy owners, a.k.a. me. I've been preying on Arthur Smith's downfall all season. I need that man to get fired so bad so Bijan can get his touches. I think the Kyle Pitts fans feel the same way about that. So, a lot of people preying on Arthur Smith's downfall right now, and everything's going exactly the way I envisioned it.
Except for that, you had him in the playoff round 1 of the playoffs, and he got what, 0.40? Yeah,
we managed to escape without too much going on from Bijan. But
good.
Well, it's like, all right, so we had Kyren Williams too. Bijan fumbled and got put in the doghouse. Kyren Williams fumbled twice and kept getting touches and helped the Rams win. So it really makes you question what the point of the doghouse is.
It's a rainy game, Arthur. He may or may not fumble it. He's a rookie, and it's a rainy game. It may or may not happen, Arthur. Plus, what about Desmond Ridder? Aren't you going to be holding people accountable?
It's like Arthur Smith just salivates at the opportunity to find a reason to bench Bijan. Like when Bijan fumbled, he was probably just like, "Oh, thank God." Now I can
For
bench him
real.
and actually be smarter than everyone else during the press conference after the game.
He's like a jealous like teammate. So they're like, this guy's getting too much attention. I'm sick of it. Sick of hearing about how I need to play him.
I got nothing against Tyler Algier, but I'm tired of seeing his name when the Falcons are in the red zone.
I thought more out of Tyler Algier this year, but every single time they've taken away touches from Bijan to give it to Algier, he hasn't done much with them.
Yeah.
Which he was way better last year, so bummer for that. Dan, you have anything to say about this one?
Yeah, no, the Panthers were able to win on Steven's favorite thing, only kicking field goals. So, that's a miracle that happened. I guess you get one every once in a while, and as the Maulers never could. So,
what's it called? Eddie Pinheiro with fucking ice in his veins. Good game for him. So now we got Denver to Cleveland. Man, it looked like, the Bears in Cleveland. Now, it looked like the Bears had this game throughout, and then Joe Flacco just starts doing Joe Flacco stuff in that fourth quarter. David Njoku has woken up and finally filling into his potential, and everyone loves to see it as far as from a fantasy perspective if you happen to grab him on the waiver wire. I don't know what else to really say about this one. Cleveland's rolling.
Yeah, Flacco's still looking good. Sure, he had a couple of interceptions again, but threw for another 350 plus yards in a game. I think he's saving their season for sure. And it really came down to that very end with the Hail Mary. That would have been wild if they could have pulled it off. But,
oh my God. How do you drop that, Moody?
Yeah. I don't know how you dropped that.
Typical Bears.
It's like God didn't know who to punish for that between the Browns and the Bears. It's always one of them. So it's like, oh, fuck, one of them has to win. Now what do I do?
He could have made it end in a tie for all we know.
What do you think about this, Cooper?
I think Joe Flacco's getting the recognition he deserves, but I do want to say that, like, the unsung play of the season. Did you guys see that 4th and 1 where Fields rolled out, and it looked like he had 30 yards of daylight ahead of him? There was a 4th and 1 where it was like an NFL street tackle where this dude on the Browns dove from like 10 yards from like the hash mark, and he just touched Fields like in the back of his foot and ended up getting the 4th and 1 stop. That would have been at least a 20-yard gain if Fields broke that free. I was going nuts when that happened, and that was when it was like 17-7 still, I think. That was really the play of the game. So that might have ended the game if he had gotten that. So I wish I knew the player on the Browns so I could shout him out personally.
Dude, I love hearing about a good tackle. Thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome.
That literally was the reason the Browns had a chance to make that comeback. It was such a good play.
Hell yeah.
Look, I'm just happy that we still are on a potential crash course of Joe Flacco knocking the Ravens out of the playoffs. That's all I want for Christmas.
I would love that.
That's fair. All right, so Cleveland takes care of business, still doing some fine work to get into the playoffs and make Dan extra happy on Christmas, which of course we all want. Oh, look, a game that will maybe not make Dan so happy, one that he was in attendance for, and that I personally was in attendance for too. Look at that. Isn't that nice? The Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers battled it out in Lambeau. Woo! This is totally wrong. Anyway, battled it out in Lambeau. The icy tundra, as they say. And goddamn, Cooper, this game was cold as hell. The Buccaneers fans were few and far between. Let me tell you, a sea of green.
It was not cold.
It was cold. All right. Anyway,
it was 40 and raining. It was okay.
Whatever, dude. The point is that there was no Buccaneer fans really there to see this other than a handful of them, but Baker Mayfield put on a goddamn masterclass. The Packers fans continue to yell at Joe Barry, but I think it takes away from just how awesome Baker Mayfield was in this game. Came back from a fumble early in the game. This game was like the Buccaneers kind of had the lead most of it and sort of seemed to be in control, but you couldn't tell that from being there in the stadium, man. These Packers fans were fired up the entire game. Every third down was so loud, which made it all the sweeter, Cooper, when they had to quietly acknowledge that Baker had just converted yet another third down. And it ultimately led to a 34-20 win for your very own Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still first place in the division, driver's seat over here in the NFC South. Loving life. Loving life. Dan, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the first half was close. It was Tampa was up 13-10 and their defense just kind of started falling apart in the second half. The offense couldn't get going. They kept, Tampa kept pressure on Jordan Love towards the end, and they kept checking down every play. And when you throw it to the line of scrimmage, you're not going anywhere.
I think it's really appropriate that you're frozen on just like this fake smile. Are you seeing that too, Cooper, or is it just me?
Yeah, I'm seeing that too.
You're like frozen on this like fake smile as you're giving this delivery. That's a fair assessment. I don't know what happened with their they definitely did seem like Jordan Love was trusting what he was seeing quite, and he was going for some of the shorter stuff. I missed a couple easy ones that would have been conversions on third down, maybe even touchdown passes. While Dan is off in the wilderness, I want to shout out Chris Godwin. He's been quiet all season, struggling. People talking about it. His wife talking about it. It's been getting crazy. The boy showed up for this game, man, early and often. 10 receptions, like 125 yards. Really just moved our offense all day. Shout out Chris Godwin. Huge game out of him. Oh, Dan, you're back.
Yeah. Sorry, dude, it's like the second time. This hasn't happened for a while. But no, like I was saying, the play calls got very conservative. They kept checking it down to the running backs coming out of the backfield, which the way the Tampa Bay's linebackers were covering the edge, like you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't, we talked about this on the ride home. Aaron Jones was just eating up Tampa Bay's defense in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then
had some good carries.
And then they abandoned it. Like, they got away from it. They still had him out on the field here and there. I don't know if something happened towards the end of the game because Taylor was in a lot more, I noticed, for some of those plays. But yeah, it was just they abandoned it when their defense is playing cover and they're playing an extra 5 yards off where they should be. That's going to give Baker all the room in the world he needs to do to hit those third down conversions when you're leaving that much space in the secondary. So, a lot of guys were out of place. Baker took advantage of it. I always felt he got a raw deal in Cleveland. So, maybe he's finally getting the due justice he deserves down there.
I second that big time. I've been a big Baker supporter since he's been in the NFL. I've watched him get slandered every year of his career wrongfully. Tell me one quarterback on the Browns that was better than Baker over the last however many years, or one quarterback in the Panthers since Cam Newton that was even remotely good. Everyone who went there has failed.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Baker finally getting his flowers somewhere where he can succeed.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like that's what I loved about that Rams game that he just showed up for and balled out for them. And it was like, yeah, I didn't, aside from, maybe what they're working with now in Cleveland, but yeah, I felt like he was just such a scapegoat up there that it just made no sense that he got treated the way he did.
I mean, the Browns are paying for that themselves. So, Cooper, any thoughts on this game before I give a last one?
Baker Mayfield's the GOAT, and Jordan Love, despite never passing the eye test, somehow always gets good fantasy points, which pisses me off. It's kind of like a young Dak Prescott in that regard, but Prescott's good now, so I can't really keep saying that as a comparison. But I don't think anyone's really sure how to feel about Jordan Love yet.
That's fair.
I mean, I feel good about him. I wish I'd saved this image earlier. It was talking about the amount of over 100 rating QBRs he has for this year, which is more than Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, and who was the third one? Well, like basically some of the top quarterbacks. It's just they're not. I think the biggest problem is they're just not winning. Like he's doing good, but their offense just stalls out in the red zone. Whether it's Love's not converting, they're abandoning play calls, changing up what got them all the way down the field. I don't know. There's too many finger pointings in Green Bay right now.
Well, shout out to the two rookie receivers, though. One of them was Reed, of course, and everyone knew he was going to be good, and he had a good game. but the other one was Watkins. And like guys in the stands were like, "Who was 15?" And the dude was just we couldn't cover him apparently. He had like 6-7 receptions, out of control.
Wicks.
Wicks. Yeah, exactly. See, big game out of him. Big game, David Moore. Fucking broke a couple tackles, almost fucked up his first touchdown like an idiot, but he did ultimately score. And shout out to him. That was a hell of a play. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, first visitor perfect passer rating in Lambeau Field. And the last thing. So there's a lot of drama going on right now. It looks like the Buccaneers are benching Devin White indefinitely. And I've been calling for it here on this podcast. We've been calling him out since last year in that Baltimore game where he was literally jogging behind Lamar Jackson a couple times. I'm happy to see it. Good riddance, Devin White. We'll never take away that Super Bowl run. You balled out that playoff run to get us there. Appreciate that. But holy fuck, you've been an asshole to us ever since. Happy to see you leave, buddy. KJ Britt's balling out right now. He's playing like a guy who wants to play, who wants to be a part of a team and wants to make tackles. He's playing like a linebacker, man. Like, geez. I just love to see it. A guy like that. Not a lot of people have any confidence in. Like, the beat writers have always been like, there's a reason KJ Britt's not on the field. And here he is, proving everyone wrong. Fucking love to see it. Good riddance, Devin White. All right, moving on from this game. Who else we got here? Wow, fascinating stuff. We got the Jets, Dolphins. The Jets decided not to score any points in this game, because otherwise they might win. And then they had to put Aaron Rodgers back on the field. And that's just crazy talk, Cooper. You can't have it.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see the Jets win enough games that, like, Rodgers would have to come back if he could. So it's kind of a buzzkill that they ended up getting eliminated from the playoffs. But, I mean, it's like I have no interest in watching the Jets play football. They're in quarterback hell. They change quarterbacks like every 2 seconds. They have no identity on offense. It's a miserable team. They're stuck with all these guys who suck because Rodgers wanted them there. Like, it's such a mess. I don't envy Jets fans. That's all I'm gonna say.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do. Like, I could, even though they're eliminated, if there's some strange possibility that Aaron Rodgers could play, he will. No, I said even with them eliminated.
Oh yeah.
I could still see Rodgers playing just to prove a point that he did it, because that's just kind of the mentality he has.
Honestly, yeah.
Even if it's week 18, like if he doesn't play this weekend,
he just pops in there with his boys and puts up like 38 points, 5 touchdowns. Dude, just like, fuck you guys.
They'll wait till like 2 minutes left in the game, put him in, and they'll just like start letting him bomb it down the field. And like that's all they do is for 3 straight plays, verticals, just to show his arm off.
Or he gets hurt again, then ends up missing next season with an ACL tear or something.
Oh God, no, not him. He'll just have a 6-month recovery again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big win for the Dolphins, kind of with how bad that Tennessee game went for them. They really needed to make sure they won this game.
Absolutely.
Especially with the Ravens winning theirs. If they want to have any meaning in their game against Baltimore.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, they have the division against the Bills. The Bills are climbing back in the AFC East, too, so they have to be careful.
That is true.
Less about the 1 seed, more about fending off Buffalo, I think, at this point for the Dolphins. And honestly, right now, I'd say Buffalo's the hotter team. I'm a lot more sold on the Bills after these last couple of weeks than the Dolphins.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We'll get to the Bills. But, yeah, wrapping up that whole situation there, Tyreek Hill is mostly out for this one, and Tua still looked pretty good. So, and that's against a good Jets defense, worth mentioning. So the New Orleans Saints take care of business against dude, his name is Tommy DeVito, okay? Not Danny DeVito, guys. Jeez. Defensive tackle from the Saints. You need to be more respectful, bro. You need to be more respectful. But anyway, he gets concussed in this game. Another kind of what we were talking about with Michael Pittman. I think he puts himself in a bad position like this. He did this exact same thing the previous week. And then here he is in the Green Bay game. Here he is sliding late again, and this time he gets popped. And it's like, dude, come on.
I mean, I kind of like that they didn't flag the defender for either time. I know there's a lot of uproar about that, but That's why I've never been a big like. I understand the purpose of the slide rule, but like,
Yeah, do it
we've
2
seen it
yards
too many.
before action is what you're supposed to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. It's like you can't when you're about to be hit, regularly, and you decide to
Now's a
defend
good time
yourself
to
inside.
slide.
Like a defender can't just pick himself back up.
Right.
I don't know if Cooper is a baseball fan because Steven hates when I talk baseball on this thing. But it's like the runner deciding to slide in last second at second base. Maybe cough cough Chase Utley, but
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
know,
say I've seen that happen.
but yeah, like I understand protecting the quarterbacks, but yeah, like there's got to be some level of accountability on their end of, hey, if you decide to dive last minute, then you're gonna get messed up.
Yeah.
It just feels like a cruel joke on defenders at this point. You're asking them to process so much in a split second while they're running full speed, doing a job that costs them millions of dollars if they fuck it up. It's
Yeah.
just way too much on them to try to evaluate when their job is just to hit people.
I mean, it's such an offensive game at this point that it's like,
Yeah.
Look, I remember this is a while ago, so this is what makes it even better. But our Donovan, a Hall of Fame lineman for the Baltimore Colts, talked about how the game was getting soft, and this was like the early 2000s. He's like, you might as well just put skirts on them and let them run around because it was kind of the beginning of when you started to see things get dialed back.
Yeah.
In terms of the 2000 Ravens defense could not survive in today's world.
No, definitely not. They all would have been heavily fined.
It's one of those things too where it's I think that like the tackling rules need to still be tweaked a ton because now that you're like banning some tackles, it's making other tackles more dangerous. The fact that defenders feel that they can't go through a player's body at certain positions means they go way too low sometimes or way too high.
Yeah.
And I think it was Gronkowski that said, he's like, I want to be hit right here every time. But a lot of guys are becoming de-incentivized to do that if I'm a defensive receiver over the middle. So they're going for my ankles instead.
Yeah.
Either way, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I think all the restrictions on defenders are just making them have to get a little too creative tackling. The hip drop, that's a big point of contention right now. The hip drop wasn't as big of a thing in the past as it is now, just because there's fewer ways you can make a tackle.
And I mean, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of them trying to outlaw that one, honestly.
No.
Like at this point, what other way are you going to bring a guy down from behind?
It's getting crazy, dude. It's getting wild. We might as well start playing 2-hand soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get to the point that if a receiver gets by you, then it's like pretty much an automatic touchdown unless you have someone over the top because, you're going to have that small window of grabbing a shoelace like the guy did in Cleveland against Fields. Or you're going to hope that you can run around him to get back in front of him. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a sport called rugby where you have to wrap people up.
Yeah.
I know we're all familiar with that.
I have been saying that for years that, like, that's what the NFL needs to do. They just need to implement that you have to actually wrap tackle. And, like, that will help save so much.
Simple stuff, really.
That's a different episode for another time.
Yeah, seriously. That's a long conversation to be had.
It's a long conversation. Moving into Houston Texans taking the W here against the Titans. This is huge for the Texans. They survived last week's fiasco, losing C.J. Stroud. Casey Keenan comes in for them, does just enough. Their defense shows up big. They find a way to win this game. Titans looked a little off in this one. Derrick Henry probably was his worst game of his career by far. And, people are questioning Derrick Henry's reign as king. It's not right.
I mean, he's on his way out. Like, let's just be honest.
He is. He's slowing down. But why did they trade him then?
Not only that, like, he just needs to get out of Tennessee at this point. Like,
he does.
We won't let him. They were going to trade him, and it got vetoed by the Titans owner.
Yeah.
Almost a Raven.
Because the thing is, at this point, they need it's kind of what some Titans fans are saying. They need to trade him and start building the offense around Will Levis because, it's a new era passing. So, yeah. Other than that, boys, do you guys have anything to say about this one?
I mean, I was impressed that Houston was able to pull it off. I didn't expect
Yeah.
with CJ Stroud being down. Keenum is a guy that you kind of forget he's still around until he shows up.
100%. Yes, 100%. I forgot Keenum was still in the league, but it makes sense that he's somewhere being a backup.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But yeah, because he's been around since 2013. So
yeah,
good on them. Keeps them in a good spot for the playoffs. I mean, obviously, hopefully CJ Stroud can come back because you're going to need him for the last couple of games, and obviously healthy for the playoffs if they can grab. They're still in line for the division because now there's a three-way tie for the division with Jacksonville losing to the Ravens. So they're all Jacksonville are all 8-6.
Well, it's going to be a tight race down the road there for everyone in the NFC South except for the old Titans. Sorry, guys, but the rest of the NFC South will continue to have fun. Moving on, though, we do have the Chiefs and Patriots. I guess the only one thing that's really – we'll get into this, and, of course, you're from Resident Cooper about all things Patriots, but the one thing I want to throw in here real quick, why is Kadarius Toney still in the NFL? Why is he still on the Chiefs? What's going on? Get him out of here. This is ridiculous.
Every good TV program has a comic relief character. That's how I feel about Kadarius.
He's getting off Mahomes, okay? He's getting Mahomes very upset lately.
The Mahomes collapse at the hands of Kadarius Toney is also hilarious. I mean, between him, Sky Moore, and MVS, Mahomes
away.
Great.
Just slowly cheeking away at the sanity of Mahomes. They're just like, cheek.
I mean, it just proves that maybe the Giants weren't totally wrong in getting rid of him after 22 games.
Yeah, I think.
30 or 32 games, whatever it was. And I was watching a lot of people after that offsides call that he had gotten. Maybe some guys you just can't teach, I'm sure that it's not the first time they've gone over his lineup position, but it's just a lot of mental mistakes that he's making. That interception that he literally handed to you guys, like, I don't know how he didn't come down with that one, but
Cooper, what's going on with the Patriots? Are they really going to fire Bill Belichick? Is it going down?
I do not want us to fire Bill Belichick.
You're a smart man.
I am 27 years old. Robert Kraft is a lot older than that. He's running out of time, so I think he's running out of patience too. Ticket prices have been dropping a lot. Ticket prices have been dropping a lot this year, and that's what he cares about. That's the bottom line right there. And nobody wants to see this Belichick coach's team, which not only are we bad, but we're fucking boring, man. We don't do anything interesting ever. We have the least explosive offense in the NFL. We have a great defense, but it just results in punt battles every time we step on the field. Zappy looked okay in the first half, against the Chiefs. Belichick usually game plans pretty well against Patrick Mahomes. But there was a point where we were down by 10 with 4 minutes left, and we just didn't even attempt to move the ball. They downed a punt at like the 1 or something. We ran the ball twice, then threw an incomplete pass, burned a minute and a half of game time off when there was 4 minutes left and we were down 2 scores. And it was just like one of those things where I don't care if we lose at this point. I'm at peace with the fact that we suck. But, like, to not even go out there and try to beat Andy Reid, who everyone is saying that is better than you now because he's won 2 Super Bowls recently. The guy that everyone's saying is better than Belichick now. Like, you're just going to, like, lay down and die with 4 minutes left. That fucking sucks, man. That pissed me off so much. This team still finds ways to piss me off, even though I'm at peace with the fact that we suck. I think I don't care anymore until I see some shit like that go down. Because, like, dude, people are rooting for the tank in New England, and they don't realize that these players are, like, actual human beings with emotional investment in the team.
Yeah, of course.
Kyle Duggar's unhappy. He's our star young defender. Anthony Jennings is a free agent next year. None of the defenders are happy, These guys are frustrated. They're trying their best for absolute piss results. And I feel like if we were to go out there and play a competitive game against the Chiefs all 4 quarters, like, a part of me thinks that might have changed somebody's mind and said, maybe we are one piece away or two pieces away, but we look like a team that has a lot more problems than we can solve with a good draft pick.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. But, we have a lot of injuries on defense. We're going to be short up a little bit next year. I have no clue what's going to happen in the draft at this point. I'm not going to speculate until we have our pick locked in. I'm not rooting for us to lose. That's pussy shit. I'm not doing that.
Agreed. That's just total nonsense. Plus, people way overestimate the draft. Like, you never know where you're going to find somebody good.
Every MVP favorite right now is like a mid-round pick or like a mid to late first-round pick. Because they all got drafted into competent organizations, into systems that work for them. If we were to put Caleb Williams in the Patriots right now, he would fail. No shot he succeeds. Nobody would. That's how bad our offense is set up right now, So we have a lot of work to do before, locking down a franchise quarterback, I think. But we'll see.
Hey,
we'll
at least you're in a better position than the Carolina Panthers. So there's always that. Although they did just beat Atlanta. Who knows, man? Maybe better things are on the horizon. Don't you believe it, Daniel? You just got to believe it in your heart. Kind of like you believe in the heart of the cards,
Yeah.
That's a yes. Perfect. I was hoping for your belief in this. All right, we still got a couple more, boys, and we got to sort of fly through these. So the Cardinals, 49ers. What do you guys have to say about this one? Because frankly, I don't really care. The 49ers are probably the best team in the NFL. I can't believe that the Cardinals are still playing football. No, I'm just kidding. The Cardinals are actually one of those fiery teams, and they showed it with a 29 score here, but ultimately, no one's stopping these 49ers right now.
Yeah, the only thing at stake really at that game is Brock Purdy's MVP case or Christian McCaffrey's MVP case.
Which, he put up another good argument for it today.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for, I think.
Dan,
you're dying, Dan. Oh no! All right.
I don't see anybody really slowing down the 49ers at this point. I'm really curious. I'm looking forward to the Ravens game. The Ravens offense, I get that they actually look better, I think, against Jacksonville than the last couple weeks. But I'm curious to see what that Ravens defense is going to do with that 49ers offense. And everybody's going to go Super Bowl preview, but that being said, that could be like their toughest test in the remainder of the season because they have the Commanders after that, and then they do the Rams, which the Rams haven't looked half bad, but I think really Baltimore is their toughest test that they have left. And they're gonna. I'd be shocked if they don't get the number 1 seed at this point.
Fair enough, Cooper.
Yeah, I think they're pretty clearly head and shoulders above the rest of the NFL right now. I think one thing that I would worry about is the Eagles have a super easy end of the season schedule, and the Niners, the Ravens game, if they win the Ravens game, I think they pretty much have the 1 seed locked up. But if they go 1-2 in their next 3 weeks, which is possible with a division opponent with the Rams, which I guess one thing to consider is that every Rams game is a home game for them, whether it's in LA or San Francisco. But division games are always finicky, and the Ravens are the best team they've played this whole entire season, honestly, at this point. It is possible for them to fuck this up. Brock Purdy got concussed mid-season, and they looked like kind of a mid-team for 3 games in a row. And I think everyone's seen the stat at this point where it's like when Purdy, McCaffrey, and I think like Debo or something are all active, they're 19-0 and just blow the doors off everyone they play. So, their downfall last year was not protecting Brock Purdy. So that's the same prerogative this postseason for them, I think.
Fair. Well, moving on. We got a couple more games here. Commanders fall to the Rams. Actually, were a little more frisky in this after they traded out to Jacoby Brissett, which is a little surprising for me because I thought Sam Howell's been having a good season. But, Brissett definitely brought them back in this one. But Rams find a way to win.
The Rams.
Matthew Stafford. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so yeah, Rams are keeping their playoff hopes alive. I think, and we've said this a couple of times before. I think the Commanders are a couple key pieces away from being a really competitive team. We saw them almost make the playoffs last year, so kind of this year is a little bit of a regression. But I think with Bieniemy back there, in a strong draft this year, they could probably make a challenge for this wild card spot next year.
Yet another backup doing his thing out there, huh, Cooper?
It's the year of the backup. But in LA, their starter's killing it right now. Matt Stafford's quietly looking really fucking good again. I thought he was kind of washed after I drafted him in fantasy last year and he got injured and didn't do anything. But I think in the postseason, like two things that a lot of people forget is head and shoulders like as important as the rest of the picture is having a great head coach and a great quarterback, which the Rams have both of. So don't be surprised if they win a couple playoff games this year and do some damage.
Yeah, they got to get in there first. But yes, they are definitely looking a lot better.
Yeah, them and the Bills are like two teams that are just getting hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Bills, they absolutely crushed the Cowboys 31-10. Dak Prescott's MVP race severely hurt by this game. The Cowboys just looked completely out of sorts. They weren't ready for this one.
I've been trying to write the Bills off for the last couple of weeks, and every time I try, they win a damn game.
For real. I think I've picked wrong against them in the last 3. It's crazy.
So who knows? Maybe there are a team that's finally figuring it out because they were extremely slow all year.
Their run game looks really good, which is a great sign for them. That's a really dangerous team if their run game is going to click like that in the postseason.
Oh yeah, Cook is heating up. He's cooking.
He averaged 4.2 yards per carry before contact in that game. So he was running through almost half of the line of scrimmage to the first down before even getting touched. That's a great testament to the Bills' O-line against the good Cowboys defense, and I would not want to fuck with them in the playoffs.
Shout out to Good Sports, but I saw a couple highlights of Dawkins just absolutely plowing a Cowboys lineman for 10 yards. So, yeah, that O-line had a day. Josh Allen put it best. I mean, I feel like a kid who did no work and got an A in the group project. So, that's huge. That's huge for them.
I think, and especially on top of the Cowboys, that's such a statement win for them on their season. Because the Cowboys were a team heading into that they themselves got extremely hot with solid wins over the Seahawks and Eagles. So, there's no slouch of a win.
Now, big win for the Bills. They're starting to look pretty feisty again. We'll see what happens. This whole race is getting wild towards the end here. Jaguars fall to the Ravens. Me and Dan saw this one at home, and dude, it was crazy watching the Jaguars just determined to not score before the end of that half. It's ridiculous. It was crazy.
Their play calling was atrocious. Not much you can do about missed field goals. That just sucks. But
Trevor Lawrence.
I don't know what they were trying to call before the end of half. Why you would throw an out on the boundary, and your guy couldn't get to the boundary with no timeouts. They got up to the line enough time to either spike the ball. With I think there would have been 7 seconds left in it before the half to go back, draw something up, and then give a more valiant effort than that. But they couldn't get out of their way.
It had to be Trevor just calling an audible and just trying to feel it in the moment. I think he was trying to do too much in this game. That fumble he had was ridiculous. The dude just fell out of his hand. What are you doing? It's the red zone, Trevor. Protect the ball.
Yeah, so 2 costly fumbles too, and that defense of Baltimore is they're very opportunistic.
For sure,
they're gonna end up with it every time.
I think it was kind of the perfect storm for Jacksonville to implode. I think Trevor Lawrence isn't fully healthy yet.
Yeah.
I think he looks a little bit shaken still. And Christian Kirk's a lot more important to the Jaguars than I think a lot of people give him credit for.
Oh, yeah.
He was averaging so many catches per game. He was Trevor Lawrence's guy on so many of those short and intermediate routes. I think it's one of those things where he was putting Evan Ingram in positions to run Christian Kirk routes. And, he's putting Zay Jones, who was also hobbling that game.
He
in
really
position
was.
to run Christian Kirk routes, and he wasn't getting a lot of the reliable plays that he can just be automatic with Christian Kirk with.
And he has not quite established that chemistry with Ridley this game. I mean, he had a couple passes to Ridley this game, but overall, severely disappointing game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the Ravens take care of business and are now in the driver's seat to be the number 1 seed over there in the AFC.
And I haven't got the chance to look into this yet, but a coworker of mine was telling me, I believe that Trevor Lawrence is in concussion protocol. From what I heard, I know he's questionable.
Yeah, he did take a shot at the end of that game. Yep.
But so here we are with 3 weeks left in the season, and they're in a must-win on these next 3. They might not have Trevor Lawrence.
They got next week a game against another Florida rival who's kind of hot right now, Dan. 3-game winning streak for that team. So we'll see what happens.
So we might be, as you said, we might be seeing their season fall before our eyes.
Could be.
It's going to be interesting. The AFC South 3-team backup quarterback race for the division title down the stretch between Minshew, Case Keenum, and who's the backup on Jacksonville again?
It is
Beathard.
Beathard or EJ Perry.
Yeah.
Both stellar, well-known names in the NFL. We got the Eagles.
It's another one-hit wonder 49ers backup with Mullins.
Agreed. That is funny. All right, so Eagles, Seahawks. Dude, the Eagles are crazy. Like, I was kind of watching this game, like, while I was playing some Madden, and, like, they had a Seahawks fan over there talking with the Manning cast, which she was like, it was whatever. But at one point, like, you see this deep shot from the Eagles into the Seahawks end zone, intercepted, and she's just like, why would you even take that shot there? So unnecessary. Easy for Jordan Love to go, or Love to go pick it up. I don't think it was Jordan Love. Either way, Julian Love, sorry. Go easy pick off for him and that there. And she's just like, why would you even do that? And man, that was pretty much the Eagles' offense Monday night. Like, what were they doing? They had this game at so many points. Their defense put them in position to win this game, and they just refused. They just could not get the job done. And shout out to Drew Lock, man. It was awesome to see. The post game interview was as real as it gets from a guy. You love to see the support from Geno too. Like, as soon as he threw that touchdown pass, he's so happy for his boy. 2 guys who aren't writing anyone back, so Cooper.
Yeah, man. The Eagles are a team that they go into every game looking underprepared and outcoached, and a lot of the times they just grit it out with pure talent and a physical run game that you can't scheme against 5 offensive linemen being incredibly stronger than your front 7. The Eagles' incredible run game where you have to account for Hurts as well as whoever the back is. And then if that doesn't work, they have a good play action game. But I feel like the Eagles' offense just doesn't have enough creativity to come up with more and more answers down the stretch as teams start to figure that out more. And they start to play not to lose sometimes until the end of that Seahawks game where Hurts just started taking random shots that didn't really make a lot of sense. He didn't really need those shots. Hurts just seemed confused. I think he was disoriented because he was still sick. I'm not going to make too many conclusions off of it, but I don't think what's been happening to them is a fluke. I think this is kind of who they are.
Yeah, fair enough.
They lost Shane Steichen, who's killing it in Indy right now, and their offense hasn't looked the same at all. And their defense has been one of the worst in the NFL this year. This is unreliable football team.
For as many first-round draft picks as they have on that D-line, it's crazy that they're not getting better production out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only saving grace, like you said, they have like one of the easiest schedules down the stretch here. They play the Giants twice, and then they throw the the Cardinals in there in the middle of those 2 matchups. Okay. So that might be like the only thing that could potentially save
the doctor's remedy.
Yeah.
Their hopes.
The NFC East is kind of theirs to lose.
Yeah. It really, at this point with this lineup that they have left, I get that the Dallas right now has the tiebreaker over them, but the Cowboys have Dolphins, Lions, and Commanders. So, 2 of those 3 are no slop games for the Cowboys.
Sweet. Well, I fully agree. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Your boys got to go run off and do very, very important things that keep the Sports by Compian train running. Thank you so much to all your new subscribers. Thank you to friend of the show, of course, Cooper O'Connell, for dropping by. Let's hope they don't fire Bill Belichick for your sake, Cooper, but it's a crazy situation down there up there in New England. Of course, our co-host does a lot of work for this show, Dan Gill, stepping in once again. Thank you for showing up. We are very excited with all the growth, people. Thank you. Continue to like our content, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, even your enemies. Send it to them. Sports by Compian. We're out.